Welcome to the dark and mysterious world of the occult. We'll be peeling back the veil on secret societies, ancient rituals, and esoteric symbols that have fascinated and frightened humanity for millennia. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Chaos magic is an unconventional and highly flexible form of modern occultism that emphasizes personal experimentation and the fluidity of belief systems. Emerging in the late 20th century, chaos magic gained momentum in the 1970s with key texts such as Liber Null by Peter J. Carroll and the Book of Results by Ray Sherwin. These works laid the foundation for a practice rooted in pragmatism and innovation, allowing practitioners to draw from a wide range of magical traditions and psychological techniques. One of the most fundamental tenets of chaos magic is the concept of belief as a tool. Unlike other magical traditions that require adherence to specific deities or rituals, chaos magicians view belief itself as something that can be shaped and manipulated to achieve desired outcomes. This approach allows for a level of flexibility and adaptability that is rare in more traditional forms of magic. By shifting beliefs, the practitioner can adopt new perspectives, experiment with different techniques, and ultimately create a system of magic that is uniquely their own. The practice of sigilization, popularized by artist and occultist Austin Osman Spare, is a central technique in chaos magic. Sigils are symbols crafted to represent a specific intention or desire. The process involves creating a sigil, charging it with emotional or psychic energy, and then allowing it to sink into the subconscious mind, where it can work its magic unnoticed by the conscious mind. Another critical concept in chaos magic is gnosis, a heightened state of consciousness that is believed to increase the practitioner's ability to influence reality. Gnosis can be achieved through a variety of means, including meditation, chanting, drumming, and even more extreme practices, such as sensory deprivation or physical exhaustion. The goal is to bypass the rational mind and reach a state where the magician's will can operate more freely. This mirrors techniques found in other mystical traditions, but is stripped of their religious or dogmatic frameworks, allowing the practitioner to remain untethered from any belief system. A defining feature of chaos magic is its embrace of paradigm shifting. Practitioners are encouraged to adopt and discard belief systems as necessary to achieve their magical goals. For instance, practitioners are encouraged to adopt completely different worldviews depending on something as simple as the roll of a set of dice. For instance, a certain roll could indicate that the practitioner adopts a Norse pagan worldview for 6 months. Another role, for instance, could have the same person adopting a Taoist worldview for the next 6 years. This process, often referred to as belief as a tool, allows the magician to use various cultural or psychological models to shape their reality. The fluidity with which chaos magicians shift their paradigms is both a strength and a source of controversy. Some critics argue that this approach lacks the ethical grounding found in more structured occult traditions. However, advocates of chaos magic argue that its adaptability is precisely what makes it effective in an era where rigid belief systems often fail to accommodate the complexities of modern life. Fundamentally, chaos magic is an occult system which rejects the existence of absolute truth and rejects the conclusions of all religious, spiritual, and occult traditions that came before it. Thelema, a spiritual philosophy established in the early 20th century by Aleister Crowley, revolves around the central tenet, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." This concept emphasizes personal freedom and the pursuit of one's unique path, or true will. Crowley, a famed English occultist, claimed that his belief system was divinely revealed to him in 1904 during an experience in Cairo, where he received the Book of the Law from an entity named Aiwass. This text became the cornerstone of Thelemic doctrine, laying out principles designed to guide humanity into a new era, what Crowley termed the Aeon of Horus, an age characterized by individualism. Thelema's core belief system is rooted in discovering and following the true will, which is essentially one's destiny or higher purpose in life. This idea isn't just about pursuing individual desires, but aligning oneself with the universal will, often referred to as the Great Work. The Great Work, adapted from earlier Hermetic and alchemical traditions, is the process of spiritual transformation, where one seeks to integrate unconscious parts of the self into a unified whole. For Thelemites, accomplishing the Great Work means realizing one's true will, which harmonizes personal desires with the larger cosmic order. Magic is central to Thelema, but it isn't about supernatural phenomena in the way it's often portrayed in pop culture. Instead, magic in Thelema is defined as the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. It's both a philosophical and practical discipline used to uncover the true will and enact changes in life that align with that purpose. Crowley incorporated various magical practices from Western esoteric traditions, including the Golden Dawn, as well as elements of yoga, meditation, and ceremonial rituals. Thelema also involves a complex pantheon of deities, many of which are drawn from ancient Egyptian religion. Key figures include Nuit, Hadit, and Ra-Hoor-Khuit. Nuit is the goddess of infinite space and possibilities, symbolized by the night sky, while Hadit, her consort, represents the point of concentrated energy and individual experience. Ra-Hoor-Khuit, a manifestation of the god Horus, symbolizes the dynamic, solar energy driving the universe. These deities can be viewed either as literal entities or as archetypes, representing aspects of the human psyche and the cosmos. While the Book of the Law is the central sacred text of Thelema, it's not the only one. Crowley wrote several other holy books of Thelema, each containing allegorical and symbolic teachings meant to guide adherents in their spiritual journey. These texts are often cryptic and require deep study and contemplation to understand fully. The Book of Lies, for example, is a collection of short essays and poems that explore various aspects of Thelemic philosophy and practice. Interpretation of these works is highly individualized, with each practitioner encouraged to find their own understanding through direct experience and reflection. Runic magic, with roots deeply tied to the ancient Germanic peoples, is a practice that blends symbolism, writing, and spirituality. The runes themselves, primarily from the Elder Futhark alphabet, were used as tools for invoking cosmic energies, divination, and spellcasting. Each rune carried distinct powers, and practitioners believed these symbols could shape reality. At the heart of runic magic lies the Elder Futhark, the oldest known runic alphabet, which consists of 24 characters and dates back to around the 2nd century AD. These runes are more than just letters. They are believed to be powerful archetypes representing forces of nature, deities, and cosmic principles. For example, the rune Fehu symbolizes wealth and abundance, often associated with the god Freyr, while Thurisaz invokes protection and is linked to Thor, the god of thunder. The use of these symbols went beyond writing. They were believed to hold real, transformative power when used in rituals or magical spells. Rune masters would inscribe runes on objects like weapons, tools, and amulets, imbuing them with protective or empowering energy. In Norse sagas, these rune spells are frequently mentioned. For example, in one tale, a hero uses runes to heal a sick young girl, showing the vital role of proper knowledge and mastery of rune crafting. However, poorly drawn runes could have dangerous or unintended effects, potentially even leading to fatal consequences. Rune magic wasn't limited to simple inscriptions. Bind runes, combinations of two or more runes into one symbol, were used to amplify magical intent. By merging runes that symbolized different energies, practitioners believed they could enhance the outcome of their spells. For instance, combining Tiwaz, symbolizing victory, and Sowilo, the sun, could create a powerful charm for triumph and clarity. Runes were also vocalized through chants known as Galder. The belief was that the sonic quality of each rune carried energy. By chanting the sounds of specific runes, individuals could tap into their spiritual power and alter their own mental and emotional states, or even affect the world around them. The power of words and their connection to reality was a central belief in Germanic magic, where speaking certain runes was seen as an act of creation itself. Some have speculated that runic magic played a role in the development of later sigil magic. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy here, just reminding you to like and subscribe and to hit the notification bell. Anyway, back to the video. Jack Parsons was a paradoxical figure who seemed to straddle the realms of science and the occult with an ease that bewildered many of his contemporaries, to put it mildly. And let's just say, I don't believe that any Occult Iceberg video could be complete without an entry on Parsons. Born Marvel Whiteside Parsons in 1914, he grew up in Pasadena, California, and quickly developed an interest in explosives and science fiction. This fascination would lead him to co-found the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL, laying the foundation for modern American rocketry and all the organizations that followed. But what makes Parsons' story all the more intriguing is how his devotion to the mystical practices of Aleister Crowley coexisted with his scientific brilliance. Parsons' journey into rocketry began as a young man, experimenting with explosives in his backyard, and later joining a group of like-minded enthusiasts. This group conducted research at Caltech's Guggenheim Aeronautical Laboratory. Though initially dismissed as a fringe interest, Parsons and his colleagues made major breakthroughs in developing rocket propellants. During World War II, their efforts gained traction, leading to the formation of JPL, which eventually became an indispensable player in the American space program. At the same time Parsons was revolutionizing the field of rocketry, he was delving deeper into occultism. His introduction to Aleister Crowley's Thelema philosophy came in the early 1940s. He quickly rose through the ranks of the Ordo Templi Orientis, Crowley's magical order, and became the leader of its lodge in Pasadena. Parsons didn't just dabble in occultism, he fully embraced it. He saw no conflict between his rocket work and his occult beliefs. In fact, he viewed both as part of the same pursuit, to transcend earthly limitations, whether through technology or mysticism. This dual life of science and magic often led to scandal. Parsons would chant invocations to pagan deities before rocket tests, blending his professional work with his spiritual practices. His home, known as the Parsonage, became notorious for wild parties and occult rituals, attracting a mix of scientists, occultists, and science fiction writers. Parsons and company embarked on a series of rituals called the Babylon Working, intended to summon a divine entity called Babylon. Parsons believed these rituals would herald a new age of freedom and self-expression. Despite his brilliance, Parsons' personal life spiraled out of control. His involvement in the occult, combined with his reputation for debauchery, made him an increasingly problematic figure in the eyes of the establishment. By 1944, Parsons had been forced out of the JPL, and his rocketry career effectively ended. However, he remained committed to his magical pursuits, even as his financial situation worsened. The end of Parsons' life was as dramatic as the rest. In 1952, at the age of 37, he died in a mysterious explosion in his home laboratory while working on special effects for films. Some speculated it was intentional, others thought it might be a magical ritual gone wrong, or simply a tragic accident due to Parsons' careless handling of explosives. Parsons has the unique distinction of being recognized as both one of the leading American occultists and of being one of the leading figures in early American rocketry. Aleuromancy, or divination through the observation of cats, is an ancient practice that dates back to the times when felines were regarded as magical creatures. The word itself is derived from the Greek ailuros, meaning cat, reflecting how central these animals have been to mystical traditions. The method involves interpreting the movements, behaviors, and even the positions in which cats lie to forecast events, most notably weather changes or more personal insights into the future. One of the most popular beliefs linked to aleuromancy is the idea that a cat curling up with its head touching the ground portends a storm. Similarly, if a cat turns its tail toward a fire, it is said to forecast heavy rain or frost. A cat eating grass was also said to be linked to coming rains. These weather predictive behaviors were especially significant in times when people relied on natural signs for survival and planning. It's not just about where the cat lies or what it does. In some traditions, how a cat jumps and lands can be read to provide insights into future occurrences. Aleuromancy isn't merely about weather prediction, though much of the information I could find on the topic was. The cat's historical connection to mystical forces runs deep. In ancient Egypt, cats were revered, symbolizing protection and divine intervention. This association continued in later cultures, where cats, particularly black ones, were thought to be familiars of witches, further entwining them with the occult. Perhaps the most commonly known form of aleuromancy comes from the common belief that a black cat crossing one's path symbolizes good or bad luck, depending on the cultural context. The Testament of Solomon is a work traditionally attributed to King Solomon, renowned in biblical tradition for his wisdom and for constructing the first temple in Jerusalem. Likely composed between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD, it holds value in demonology, detailing Solomon's interactions with demons whom he compels to assist in building the temple. The narrative begins with Solomon receiving a magical ring from the archangel Michael, granted by God, empowering him to command demons. This ring, inscribed with the seal of Solomon, is central to his control over demonic entities. The text proceeds to catalog the demons summoned by Solomon, each possessing unique characteristics, origins, and the afflictions they impose upon humans. A primary role of the Testament in demonology is its comprehensive classification of demons. These entities are portrayed with intricate personalities and specific domains of influence. The Testament of Solomon integrates elements of Greek and Near Eastern mythology, reflecting a mixture of cultural and religious beliefs. For instance, the inclusion of figures like Ephippus, a wind demon from Arabian lore, and Obazuth, who is based on Medusa, reflects a blending of different demonological traditions. In addition to cataloging demons, the Testament offers insights into methods of exorcism and protection against demonic influences. Solomon's interactions with demons often culminate in the demons revealing the angels or rituals that can thwart them, providing practical guidance for readers. This aspect underscores the text's function not only as a narrative, but also as a manual for combating supposed demonic afflictions. The Testament of Solomon significantly influenced later medieval demonology and magical practices. Its themes and demon classifications appear in grimoires and occult texts throughout the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. The concept of commanding demons through divine authority or magical means became a recurring motif in Western esoteric traditions. The Seal of Solomon itself evolved into a prominent symbol in magical iconography, representing the power to bind and control spiritual entities. In modern demonology, the Testament of Solomon remains a foundational text. It is studied not only for its historical significance, but also for its contributions to understanding ancient perceptions of evil and the supernatural. The nobody theory began gaining traction on 4chan around 2018, particularly on the X board, which is dedicated to paranormal discussions. Unlike many theories that focus on specific events or figures, the nobody theory is centered around a mysterious, nameless individual referred to as the nobody. According to the theory, nobody is an enlightened being who possesses deep, almost godlike wisdom and is aware of the true nature of reality. He is believed to be working behind the scenes to bring about significant changes in the world, although his exact motivations and methods are deliberately obscured. The identity of nobody is never revealed, adding to the allure and mystery of the theory. Proponents suggest that nobody could be absolutely anyone, and theories suggest this figure is much more likely to be the individual you would least expect. This figure is seen as both a savior and a disruptor, someone who will challenge the existing power structures, but also possess a moral compass that is beyond human understanding. One of the key reasons for the appeal of the nobody theory lies in its open-ended nature. Unlike more rigid theories, which tend to provide a clear narrative with identifiable villains and heroes, the nobody theory is vague and flexible. The anonymity and ambiguity of the nobody potentially resonates with the anonymous culture of the site and the board, where anonymity is a core principle. The structure of the theory relies heavily on cryptic posts and discussions, often laden with references to philosophy, esotericism, and occultism. The theory's roots also mean that it is often presented with a mix of irony and sincerity, making it difficult to discern whether proponents truly believe in the theory or are engaging in a form of modern myth-making. The nobody theory remains largely unknown outside the X board at present. The law of attraction and the concept of manifestation have garnered significant attention and popularity in recent years. These concepts hinge on the belief that thoughts, whether positive or negative, can influence one's life experiences. The law of attraction suggests that like attracts like, meaning that if you focus on positive thoughts, positive outcomes will manifest in your life, and conversely, negative thoughts will bring about negative experiences. The roots of the law of attraction is thought to be traced back to the early 19th century, with thinkers who emphasized mind over body type philosophies. The term itself was first used by American spiritualist Andrew Jackson Davis in 1855 in the context of spiritual beliefs concerning the human soul and the afterlife. However, it wasn't until the late 19th century that the law of attraction was explicitly articulated as a principle by Prentice Mulford. Mulford argued that thinking positive thoughts attracts positive things, which remains the core of the law of attraction. Throughout the 20th century, the law of attraction gained momentum, particularly through influential self-help books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich in 1937. Though this work did not directly cite the law of attraction, it propagated the idea that one's mindset could significantly impact one's material and spiritual success. The law of attraction entered mainstream consciousness in the early 21st century, largely due to the success of the film and book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. The Secret popularized the law of attraction by presenting it as a form of esoteric knowledge that could lead to wealth, health, and happiness. This work suggests that by focusing on what you want, visualizing it, and maintaining a positive mindset, you can attract your desires into your life. The book and film became a cultural phenomenon, selling millions of copies worldwide and inspiring countless individuals to adopt manifestation practices. One of the key aspects emphasized by Byrne is the power of gratitude and visualization. According to The Secret, expressing gratitude for what you already have and vividly imagining your desired outcomes are essential practices for activating the law of attraction. These ideas resonate with many people who believe that they have experienced real-life benefits by following these principles. The law of attraction has had a profound impact on popular culture, particularly within the self-help industry. It has inspired a wide range of books, seminars, workshops, and online courses aimed at teaching individuals how to manifest their desires. Proponents of the law of attraction often cite personal anecdotes of success, claiming that by changing their mindset, they have attracted wealth, health, and fulfilling relationships. The Lesser Key of Solomon is a highly influential grimoire on demonology and the occult, compiled in the mid-17th century from various sources dating back at least several centuries earlier. This text, attributed to King Solomon, is a seminal work in Western esotericism and is primarily concerned with the summoning and control of spirits, both demonic and angelic. The Lesser Key of Solomon is rooted in a complex tradition of medieval and Renaissance magic, and possibly even magical traditions stretching back to antiquity. While it is traditionally attributed to King Solomon, further additions were noted have been made through earlier grimoires, Jewish and Christian mysticism, Christian demonology, and astrology. The Lesser Key of Solomon is divided into 5 distinct books, each dealing with different aspects of magic and spirit conjuration. The first and most well-known section, Ars Goetia, details the 72 demons that King Solomon supposedly bound and controlled. This section provides descriptions of each demon, their powers, their ranks, and how they can be summoned. The demons listed include well-known figures like Baal, Paimon, and Asmodeus. The Ars Theurgia Goetia deals with a different class of spirits, known as aerial spirits, and details complex rituals for summoning and controlling them. Unlike the demons of the Ars Goetia, these spirits are more ambiguous and are not necessarily evil. The spirits in this section are tied to specific directions on the compass, with various emperors, dukes, and princes ruling over them. The Ars Paulina is divided into 2 distinct parts. The first part deals with the 24 angels of the hours of the day, while the second part addresses the angels ruling over the degrees of the zodiac. It claims to be based on the teachings of Paul the Apostle and esoteric traditions developed by his followers in the millennia that followed. The Ars Almadel focuses on the summoning of angelic beings associated with specific regions of the heavens. The book describes the creation of a magical wax tablet, known as the Almadel, which is used to communicate with these angels. The final section, the Ars Notoria, is a collection of prayers and meditations designed to enhance the magician's memory and understanding. Unlike the other books, which focus on the summoning of spirits, the Ars Notoria is more concerned with the development of the practitioner's intellectual and spiritual abilities. Notably, this section has been omitted from many collections of this grimoire, which some conspiracy theorists speculate indicates a special power associated with this esoteric knowledge. The Lesser Key of Solomon has had a profound impact on the development of Western esotericism. It was notably edited and published by Aleister Crowley in the early 20th century. His edition, known as the Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon the King, helped to popularize the text among modern occultists and brought it to a wider audience. Crowley added his interpretations and modifications to the text, blending it with his own theories of magic and psychology. Also, you may have realized at this point that it's hard to overstate the influence of Aleister Crowley on modern occult practices. Alchemy represents an ancient tradition that spanned various cultures and time periods. Officially, it emerged as a proto scientific practice, blending elements of philosophy, spirituality, and early chemical knowledge. Alchemy's primary objectives included the transmutation of base metals into noble ones, particularly gold, the creation of the philosopher's stone, and the quest for immortality through the elixir of life. Despite being frequently dismissed in the modern era as mere pseudoscience, mainstream scholars accept that alchemy played a pivotal role in shaping the development of early modern science. The origins of alchemy can be traced back to the Greco-Roman world, where it was initially influenced by the philosophies of Plato and Aristotle. Aristotle, in particular, invented the theory of the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire. These elements were believed to be the fundamental building blocks of all matter. The concept that these elements could be manipulated to transform one substance into another was central to alchemical thought. This idea was further developed by alchemists in the Islamic world, who preserved and expanded upon the knowledge inherited from the Greeks. In the Islamic Golden Age, alchemy flourished as a scientific discipline, particularly in the areas associated with Iran and its cultural sphere. The Islamic alchemists were instrumental in preserving and translating Greek texts into Arabic, ensuring that this knowledge would later be transmitted back to medieval Europe. The practice of alchemy in medieval Europe was heavily influenced by the translations of Arabic texts into Latin during the 12th century, as well as the rediscovery of ancient Greek texts. This period saw the emergence of a distinct European alchemical tradition that combined elements of mysticism, Christianity, and emerging scientific thought. Alchemy in Europe was often shrouded in secrecy, with practitioners using cryptic symbols and allegorical language to protect their knowledge. The pursuit of the philosopher's stone, believed to be a substance that could turn base metals into gold and grant eternal life, became a central theme in European alchemical literature. One of the most influential figures in European alchemy was Paracelsus, a 16th century Swiss physician and alchemist who is credited with creating the field of toxicology. Paracelsus rejected the purely mystical aspects of alchemy and emphasized its practical applications in medicine, advocating for the use of minerals and other chemical substances to treat diseases. His work laid the foundation for modern pharmacology and toxicology. Alchemy's connection to astrology and cosmology also played a significant role in its development. Alchemists believed that the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, the individual human being, were interconnected, and that changes in the heavens could influence events on Earth. This belief led to the use of astrological symbols to represent metals and other substances in alchemical texts. For example, gold was associated with the sun, silver with the moon, and mercury with the planet Mercury. Alchemists often timed their experiments to coincide with specific astrological events, believing that this would enhance the efficacy of their work. In the early modern period, alchemy began to intersect more directly with the emerging scientific disciplines of chemistry, physics, and biology. Alchemists were among the first to conduct systematic experiments, record their results, and develop theories based on empirical evidence. Early modern scientific thinkers like Isaac Newton and Robert Boyle were deeply influenced by alchemical ideas and practices. Newton, for example, spent considerable time studying alchemy and believed that it held the key to understanding the fundamental laws of nature. And when someone of the intellectual capacity of Isaac Newton believes that it's a field that definitely requires more investigation, occultists may want to take notice. Despite its contributions to the development of modern science, alchemy eventually fell out of favor as the scientific revolution progressed. The rise of modern chemistry, with its emphasis on quantitative analysis, and the rejection of mystical explanations led to the marginalization of alchemical practices. The idea that alchemy is real and has been suppressed forms the basis of very long standing theories about the way the world works. Proponents argue that alchemy was not just a symbolic or proto scientific practice, but a powerful and effective discipline capable of potentially even bestowing immortality. According to this theory, the true secrets of alchemy have been deliberately hidden from the general public by a powerful few who wish to monopolize this knowledge for their own gain. One of the central tenets of this theory is the belief that occultists, including secret societies like the Freemasons or the Rosicrucians, possess ancient alchemical knowledge. This knowledge is thought to allow them to manipulate matter and extend their lives. If they are indeed able to extend their lives, according to this theory, they are able to continue to accrue influence for hundreds or perhaps even thousands of years. Given the compounding power of time, it's theorized that these groups have in essence accrued functional infinite clandestine power. Originating in the mid-15th century as playing cards in Europe, tarot cards evolved over time into a tool for spiritual guidance and fortune-telling, particularly from the late 18th century onwards. Today, they are widely associated with mystical and occult practices, serving as a bridge between the material and spiritual worlds. A typical tarot deck consists of 78 cards, which are divided into two main groups, the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana consists of 22 cards, each depicting significant life events, spiritual lessons, and archetypal energies. These cards are believed to hold the most profound and influential messages in a reading, often symbolizing major life transitions or spiritual insights. Some of the most well-known cards in this group include the Fool, the Magician, and the World, each carrying unique symbolism and meaning. The minor arcana, on the other hand, comprises 56 cards that are divided into four suits: wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. Each suit is associated with a different element and represents various aspects of daily life. The minor arcana cards are often seen as reflecting more mundane, yet still significant matters such as relationships, finances, and personal challenges. The belief in the powers of tarot cards is deeply rooted in their use for divination. Practitioners of tarot, known as tarot readers, use the cards to gain insight into the past, present, and potential future of an individual. The cards are shuffled and drawn in a specific spread, with each position in the spread representing different aspects of the individual's life. The reader then interprets the cards based on their positions, the images depicted, and the traditional meanings associated with each card. One of the most critical aspects of tarot reading is the role of intuition. While the cards have traditional meanings, the interpretation is highly subjective and relies heavily on the reader's intuitive abilities. A skilled tarot reader combines their understanding of the card's symbolism with their intuitive insights to provide guidance that is tailored to the individual's unique situation. The power of tarot cards, therefore, lies not just in the cards themselves, but in the connection between the reader and the person receiving the reading. The act of shuffling the deck and drawing the cards is seen as a way of aligning with the energies of the universe, allowing the reader to tap into a deeper level of consciousness. This process is believed to reveal truths that might not be apparent through ordinary means of understanding. Evidence for this includes the fact that statistically, no one will ever see the same tarot drawing twice, and thus every reading is entirely unique. Tarot cards are often viewed as tools for tapping into the subconscious mind and the collective unconscious, a concept popularized by Carl Jung. Jungian psychology suggests that the symbols and archetypes found in the tarot resonate with the universal human experience, making them powerful tools for self reflection and personal growth. For example, the Fool card, which represents new beginnings and potential, can be interpreted as an encouragement to embrace new opportunities without fear. Further, this card is generally regarded as a card of infinite potential. In addition to their psychological significance, tarot cards are also associated with esoteric traditions and occult practices. Some believe that the cards are connected to ancient wisdom from civilizations such as Egypt, or with Christian or Kabbalistic mystical traditions. Tarot cards are also used in rituals and magical practices, where they are believed to enhance the practitioner's connection to the spiritual realm. The symbolism within the cards is thought to carry specific energies that can be harnessed for various purposes, such as manifesting desires or protecting against negative influences. Count Saint Germain, a mysterious European figure from the 18th century, has been the subject of intrigue for centuries due to his wide-ranging talents and elusive origins. Born either in 1691 or 1712, the Count remains an enigma. His true identity has never been definitively established. Some theories suggest he might have been the illegitimate son of Prince Francis Rákóczi of Transylvania, while others propose more unusual origins, linking him to ancient traditions. Saint Germain's talents and knowledge spanned across multiple disciplines. He was well versed in languages, reportedly fluent in French, Italian, and German, and able to communicate in several others, such as English and Spanish. His proficiency in the arts was also remarkable. The Count was an accomplished violinist and composer, contributing to musical performances across Europe. His performances, combined with his flair for eccentricity, captivated European high society. Courtiers often described him as both entertaining and peculiar, noting his insightful conversations on philosophy and science. Beyond his musical abilities, Saint Germain was also known for his expertise in alchemy, a pursuit that played into his larger-than-life reputation. He allegedly claimed to have discovered the secret to immortality, which led to further mythologizing of his character. These claims were reinforced by his seeming agelessness. Throughout his life, witnesses remarked that the Count appeared strikingly youthful, even as the years passed. His association with alchemy and the occult grew over time, with some later occultists identifying him as a spiritual master or even an immortal figure like Christian Rosenkreutz. One of the most notable periods in Saint Germain's life was his time in the French court of King Louis XV. By 1748, he had earned the favor of the king, who employed him on secret diplomatic missions. Saint Germain's apparent ability to navigate the complex world of international politics, combined with his scientific and alchemical pursuits, earned him a reputation as a man of mystery. Despite his secretive nature, he managed to gain the trust of influential figures, yet he always maintained an air of enigma, refusing to reveal his origins or even his real name. The Count's association with major European figures of his time only added to his mystique. He is mentioned in the memoirs of the infamous quote-unquote adventurer Giacomo Casanova, who described him as a captivating conversationalist, full of stories that seemed designed to astonish. Saint Germain's connections were not limited to political and social elites. He was also linked to esoteric circles, particularly the burgeoning movements of mysticism and occultism. In later years, some occultists, such as those affiliated with the Theosophical Society, claimed that Saint Germain was an ascended master. They stated that he was a being who had transcended human limitations and now worked for the spiritual advancement of humanity. This belief persisted well into the 20th century, where groups like the Saint Germain Foundation continued to revere him. The foundation, founded in the 1930s, promoted the idea of Saint Germain as a spiritual guide who had mastered the secrets of the universe. Saint Germain's death in Germany in 1784 did little to quell the legends surrounding him. Some believe he faked his death and continued to live in secrecy, while others claim he truly discovered the key to eternal life and remains alive to this day. These myths have been perpetuated in various forms, from occult teachings to New Age spiritual movements, where he is often revered as a symbol of eternal wisdom and mystery. The Book of Abramelin is an important text within the tradition of Western esotericism, credited to a 15th century Jewish mystic named Abraham of Worms. This grimoire claims to impart profound mystical knowledge, primarily concerning the summoning of one's guardian angel, and outlines a detailed magical system rooted in Kabbalistic principles. The book is divided into 3 sections. The first part recounts Abraham of Worms' travels and his encounter with Abramelin, a wise Egyptian mage. Abraham describes the teachings he received from Abramelin, which form the foundation of the ritualistic practices in the book. Abramelin's wisdom emphasizes living a life of purity and devotion to God. This spiritual grounding is essential before one can successfully undertake the magical practices detailed in the following sections. The second book of the Book of Abramelin provides a rigorous ritual process known as the Abramelin operation. This operation is designed to establish direct contact with the practitioner's guardian angel, a spiritual entity meant to offer divine wisdom and guidance. This process is highly involved, demanding an extended period of preparation that can last from 6 to 18 months. During this time, practitioners must maintain celibacy, refrain from alcohol, engage in daily prayers, and adhere to a strict ethical code. The ritual culminates in invoking the guardian angel, after which the practitioner is believed to gain the ability to summon and command various spirits and demons without fear of reprisal. The third part of the book consists of the actual magical techniques and spells. A prominent feature of this section is the use of word squares, grid-like patterns of letters that form magical words or names. These word squares are designed for a variety of purposes, such as achieving invisibility, finding hidden treasures, or ensuring protection. Each square is linked to a specific goal and comes with instructions for its use. The focus on the guardian angel is a key feature of the Abramelin magic system. This spiritual entity is central to guiding the practitioner through the complexities of magical work, providing wisdom and protection. The concept of this guardian angel later became influential in other occult systems, most notably in Aleister Crowley's Thelema, where it plays a pivotal role. The book also carries a certain mystique, often described as a cursed text due to the warnings that accompany the rituals. Practitioners are cautioned that attempting the magic without proper preparation or with impure motives could result in dangerous consequences. Hermeticism is a religious and philosophical tradition that originated from the teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a figure said to combine elements of the god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. The texts that make up Hermeticism, like the Corpus Hermeticum, were written between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD during the Roman administration of Egypt. These works combine Greek philosophical ideas with Egyptian religious beliefs and represent a mix of mystical, theological, and esoteric knowledge. The Hermetic tradition is split into 2 main categories: popular Hermetism focused on topics like astrology, alchemy, and magic, and a variety of more practical applications. Philosophical Hermetism, on the other hand, dealt more with philosophy and theology. Popular Hermetism tried to explain how the cosmos is interconnected, believing that everything in the universe is linked by a system of influences and correspondences. These beliefs became the foundation for practices like astrology and alchemy. The theological side of Hermetism was more focused on the nature of God and the universe, seeking divine wisdom through introspection and philosophical study. The Hermetic writings were heavily influenced by Greek philosophy, especially Platonic ideas. The texts are presented as dialogues, much like those written by the Greek philosopher Plato, and they emphasize the pursuit of gnosis, or knowledge, as the key to spiritual enlightenment. Similar to Gnosticism, which also emerged during this period, Hermeticism teaches that individuals can achieve spiritual rebirth and union with a higher power through knowledge. This knowledge was considered divine and believed to reveal the secrets of existence, the nature of God, and the connections between all living things. The texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus were likely written by multiple unknown authors who used the mythical figure to give their works greater authority. The teachings in these writings reflect the blending of different traditions, merging Greek philosophy with Egyptian religious practices, and even some Jewish and early Christian ideas. Hermeticism saw a significant revival during the Renaissance, largely because of the rediscovery of the Corpus Hermeticum. Italian scholars translated these works into Latin in the 15th century, making them accessible to European thinkers. Renaissance intellectuals were attracted to the mystical aspects of Hermeticism, which seemed to offer a deeper, spiritual understanding of the universe that went beyond what the Church taught. During the 17th century, Hermeticism also influenced the development of Rosicrucianism, a mystical and secretive movement that claimed to have access to ancient Hermetic knowledge. The association with such groups gave Hermeticism a reputation as a secret, mystical tradition that preserved hidden wisdom passed down through the ages. This reputation made Hermeticism appealing to those seeking knowledge outside the mainstream doctrines of the Church or traditional philosophy. Whether through alchemy, astrology, or philosophical inquiry, Hermetic practitioners believed that understanding the cosmos could elevate their souls and bring them closer to the divine. Augury was an important part of ancient Roman religion, where people used signs from nature, particularly birds, to understand the will of the gods. Augurs were the religious officials responsible for interpreting these signs. They didn't predict the future in a modern sense, but instead determined if the gods approved of a planned action, like starting a war or electing a new leader. In Rome, birds were seen as messengers of the gods. Augurs would carefully watch how birds flew, sang, or ate to figure out if the gods were sending a good or bad message. There were two types of birds used for these interpretations. One type made predictions by how they sang, and the other by how they flew. The practice of taking the auspices often referred to watching birds in this way to understand what the gods wanted. It wasn't just birds that could be signs from the gods. Augurs also interpreted other natural events, like lightning, thunder, or cloud patterns, though these were never their main specialty. These signs were either deliberately sought out by an augur or happened randomly during rituals or public events. Augury wasn't just about religion, it was also a powerful tool in Roman politics. And for those unaware, the Romans were a highly religious and superstitious people. Augurs were involved in all kinds of important public events, from elections to military campaigns. No major public action would happen without getting a yes from the gods through augury. The Romans believed that ignoring the signs could lead to disaster, so the augurs' interpretations held a lot of weight. Originally, only the Roman upper class, called patricians, could become augurs. This meant that they controlled what was seen as the will of the gods. However, during the Republican period, in around 300 BC, plebeians were allowed to practice augury as well. Augury followed strict procedures. The augur would stand in a sacred area and use a special curved staff to mark out the space in the sky where they'd watch for signs. This area was considered holy, and within it, The augur believed they could properly connect with the gods and understand their will. Another way augury was practiced was by watching sacred chickens. Yes, you heard me correctly. These were holy chickens. The augur would watch how these chickens ate. If they ate eagerly and food dropped from their beaks, it was considered a good sign. If they refused to eat, made strange noises, or acted out of the ordinary, displaying unnatural chicken behavior, it was a bad omen. As Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, the practice of augury gradually declined and eventually disappeared. Wicca is a modern pagan, earth-centered religion, and is often considered part of the broader category of neo-paganism. It was founded in England during the early to mid-20th century by Gerald Gardner, who claimed he was initiated into a secret witch coven called the New Forest Coven in 1939. And I'll get back to the disputed origins of Wicca shortly, but first I'll be discussing the basics of the belief system and the publicly accepted history. Gardner publicly introduced Wicca in the 1950s, blending elements of pre-Christian beliefs, ceremonial magic, and Western esotericism. He popularized it through books like Witchcraft Today in 1954 and The Meaning of Witchcraft in 1959. The religion quickly spread and evolved, especially after it was brought to the United States in the 1960s. Wicca is sometimes referred to as the craft, partly in an effort to dissociate it from Christian ideas of what witchcraft traditionally involved. Its foundation is heavily based on the writings of Margaret Murray, who proposed the witch cult hypothesis, claiming that a pre-Christian, pan-European pagan religion survived underground. Murray's ideas were largely discredited, but they heavily influenced the portrayal of Wicca as a continuation of ancient traditions. Gardner's writings leaned on this hypothesis, as well as borrowing material from earlier occultists like Aleister Crowley and Charles Leland. Gardner even created the Book of Shadows, a central text for Wiccan rituals, which he initially claimed was ancient, but was later revealed to be largely compiled from various modern sources. Doreen Valiente, an influential figure in the development of Wicca, joined Gardner's coven in the 1950s. Valiente revised much of Gardner's Book of Shadows to remove elements directly borrowed from Crowley and to craft rituals that felt more authentic and meaningful to practitioners. She also helped write foundational texts and incorporated the Wiccan Rede into the religion, a key moral statement that states practitioners can do what they will so long as they harm none. Wicca's structure is decentralized, which means there are various branches or traditions with different beliefs and practices. Gardnerian Wicca, the original tradition founded by Gardner, emphasizes initiation and hierarchical coven structure. Alexandrian Wicca, another significant branch, was founded by Alex Sanders in the 1960s and incorporates similar beliefs, but with a more flexible approach. There are also non-traditional, eclectic forms of Wicca that draw from diverse spiritual sources and often don't require initiation through a coven. Eclectic Wiccans may practice alone as solitary practitioners or in very loosely organized groups. Wiccan theology is generally duotheistic, worshiping a goddess and a god, often conceptualized as the triple goddess, associated with the moon, and the horned god, linked to nature and the sun. These deities are frequently seen as archetypal figures representing feminine and masculine energies, and many Wiccans view them as aspects of a greater, unified divinity. In practice, Wiccans may worship these deities under different names from various mythologies. Some traditions are strictly polytheistic, while others take a more monotheistic or pantheistic approach. Rituals are central to Wiccan practice and often take place within a circle, a sacred space created to focus energy and provide a boundary between the physical and spiritual realms. common rituals include esbats, which are ceremonies held on full moons dedicated to the goddess, and sabbats, seasonal festivals marking the wheel of the year. These festivals are deeply tied to the cycles of nature, reflecting Wicca's emphasis on the interconnectedness of life and the earth. Magic is also an integral part of Wicca, often seen as a natural force that can be manipulated through the use of rituals, symbols, and intentions. The practice of magic in Wicca isn't focused on coercion, but rather on harmony and balance. The rule of three is an ethical guideline suggesting that whatever energy a person sends out, positive or negative, will return to them threefold. This belief emphasizes the harmony of all things and the belief that acting in a harmful nature is swiftly punished. This principle, along with the Wiccan Rede, forms the basis of Wiccan ethical practice, emphasizing personal responsibility and non-harm. Earlier on in this segment, I promised to quote-unquote circle back to the origins of Wicca. Gardner, considered the father of modern Wicca, as discussed at the beginning of this section, claimed that Wicca was an ancient pagan religion, secretly passed down through the generations. According to Gardner, he was initiated into one of these surviving covens in 1939 by a woman named Dorothy Clutterbuck in the New Forest area of England. And yes, for those wondering, Dorothy Clutterbuck was very much a real person. Notably, at least publicly, she presented herself as a practicing Christian, which some have suggested indicates that she was definitely not a witch. Respectfully, I disagree with this view, given that the witch cult hypothesis postulates that existing covens survived by having their members openly appear as Christian. And to be clear, this isn't my endorsement of the witch cult hypothesis, but rather the acknowledgement that this works within the framework proposed. Further, there's analogous situations throughout history, such as crypto-Christians in Japan during the Edo period. While Gardner's version of Wicca drew inspiration from earlier traditions, evidence for the unbroken lineage he claimed remains tenuous at this time. However, of course, I must emphasize that he claimed to have gone public with an esoteric tradition. As such, I wouldn't expect substantial historical records of any such tradition to be preserved, or to be preserved in a way which would be unambiguous to an outsider. Charles Hoy Fort is famously known for his extensive collection and analysis of anomalous phenomena, which challenged the conventional scientific understanding of his time. Fort's work, which has since inspired a subculture of Fortians dedicated to the study of unexplained phenomena, remains a critical cornerstone in the exploration of the unknown. Fort's ideas largely revolve around the concept of what he called damned data, information that is excluded by mainstream science because it does not fit within established paradigms. His seminal work, The Book of the Damned, published in 1919, introduced this concept, wherein Fort criticized the scientific community for its selective acceptance of data. He argued that scientists often disregard evidence that cannot be easily explained or that contradicts widely held beliefs, treating such data as if it were damned or not worth consideration. This critique was not merely an attack on scientific inquiry, but was aimed at the dogmatic adherence to established theories, without considering alternative explanations for observed phenomena. Fort was deeply skeptical of the scientific positivism of his era, the belief that all meaningful knowledge could be derived from observable empirical data alone. Instead, he believed that many phenomena existed beyond the grasp of current scientific methods, and that these should not be dismissed simply because they were unexplained. Interestingly, Fort's collections of strange occurrences include reports of UFO sightings long before they became a widespread cultural phenomenon. His works often juxtaposed accepted scientific explanations with these anomalies, suggesting that the latter might offer insights into the limitations of human understanding. One of Fort's more controversial ideas was the concept of the Super Sargasso Sea, an imaginary place where all lost objects on Earth end up, only to occasionally rain back down to the planet. While Fort did not necessarily believe in this idea literally, he used it to mock the scientific explanations that he felt were equally fantastical, yet accepted without question. Fort's ideas did not simply reside within the confines of his books, they inspired a movement. The International Fortean Organization, founded in the 1960s, is one such group that carries on Fort's legacy. Info promotes the study of unexplained occurrences and encouraging open-mindedness towards phenomena that mainstream science might reject. This organization, along with various publications like the Fortean Times, plays a crucial role in keeping Fort's ideas alive. Despite his significant influence, Fort's work has been met with considerable skepticism. Critics argue that his collections of data lack rigorous scientific methodology and that his writings are more literary and philosophical than truly scientific. Agartha is a legendary kingdom said to be located on the inner surface of the Earth. The concept of Agartha is closely tied to the hollow Earth theory, which proposes that the Earth is hollow and contains subterranean environments. This idea can be traced back to the 17th century, when Edmund Halley, known for Halley's Comet, suggested that the Earth consisted of concentric shells with separate atmospheres. The legend gained further prominence through the works of 19th century French occultist Alexandre Saint-Yves d'Alvedre, who described Agartha in an 1886 book. He claimed that Agartha was an underground kingdom of advanced knowledge and wisdom, hidden from the surface world to safeguard its secrets. The story was later revived by Polish explorer Ferdynand Ossendowski, who in a 1922 book recounted tales of a subterranean kingdom imparted to him by Mongolian lamas. The mysteries of Agartha are deeply intertwined with various cultural myths and religious stories. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, similar concepts exist, such as Patala, a netherworld inhabited by serpent-like beings called Nagas. Another concept also exists called Shambhala, a mythical kingdom often confused with Agartha in Western sources. One of the stories related to Agartha involves Admiral Richard E. Byrd of the U.S. Navy. In his purported secret diary, Byrd describes an encounter with an advanced civilization during a flight over the North Pole in 1947. He claims to have seen a lush green landscape and was greeted by beings from Agartha who expressed concern over humanity's use of nuclear weapons. Although this diary's authenticity is widely disputed, it has fueled many theories about the existence of Agartha. According to these theories, Agartha is accessible through entrances at the North and South Poles, as well as other locations around the world. Maps created by these groups often depict a vast network of tunnels connecting various parts of the Earth's interior, with Agartha as the central hub. The law of attraction and the concept of manifestation have garnered significant attention and popularity in recent years. These concepts hinge on the belief that thoughts, whether positive or negative, can influence one's life experiences. The law of attraction suggests that like attracts like, meaning that if you focus on positive thoughts, positive outcomes will manifest in your life, with the same for negative thoughts. The root of the law of attraction is thought to be traced back to the early 19th century, with thinkers who emphasized mind-over-body type philosophies. The term itself was first used by American spiritualist Andrew Jackson Davis in 1855 in the context of spiritual beliefs concerning the human soul and the afterlife. However, it wasn't until the late 19th century that the law of attraction was explicitly articulated as a principle by Prentice Mulford. Mulford argued that thinking positive thoughts attracts positive things, which remains the core of the law of attraction. Throughout the 20th century, the law of attraction gained momentum, particularly through influential self help books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich in 1937. Though this work did not directly cite the law of attraction, it propagated the idea that one's mindset could significantly impact one's material and spiritual success. The law of attraction entered mainstream consciousness in the early 21st century, largely due to the success of the film and book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. The Secret popularized the law of attraction by presenting it as a form of esoteric knowledge that could lead to wealth, health, and happiness. This work suggests that by focusing on what you want, visualizing it, and maintaining a positive mindset, you can attract your desires into your life. The book and film became a cultural phenomenon, selling millions of copies worldwide and inspiring countless individuals to adopt manifestation practices. One of the key aspects emphasized by Byrne is the power of gratitude and visualization. According to The Secret, expressing gratitude for what you already have and vividly imagining your desired outcomes are essential practices for activating the law of attraction. These ideas resonate with many people who believe that they have experienced real-life benefits by following these principles. The law of attraction has had a profound impact on popular culture, particularly within the self-help industry. It has inspired a wide range of books, seminars, workshops, and online courses aimed at teaching individuals how to manifest their desires. Proponents of the law of attraction often cite personal anecdotes of success, claiming that by changing their mindset, they have attracted wealth, health, and fulfilling relationships. Yaldabaoth, in Demonology and Gnostic cosmology, holds a prominent role as the demiurge, a creator god who is often portrayed as a malevolent and ignorant being. Yaldabaoth is frequently depicted as a lion-headed serpent, symbolizing his brute strength and base instincts as well as deceit or self-deception. This visual representation underscores his animalistic nature, contrasting with the higher, more refined divine beings in Gnostic tradition. This figure originates from Gnostic texts discovered in the Nag Hammadi library in 1945, which shed light on early Christian and Gnostic beliefs. In Gnosticism, Yaldabaoth is the offspring of Sophia, a divine being who, without the consent of the higher divine powers, attempts to create a being apart from the divine realm. This flawed creation is Yaldabaoth, who, ignorant of his origins, believes himself to be the supreme god. In this belief, he created the material world and other rulers, known as archons, to govern it. Yaldabaoth's ignorance is central to Gnostic cosmology. In these traditions, he is depicted as the false god who imprisons divine sparks, fragments of the true divine essence, within human beings, entrapping souls in the material world. Gnostics contrast him with the hidden, transcendent true God, emphasizing the dualistic struggle between the material and spiritual realms. For Gnostics, Yaldabaoth represents the flawed nature of the material world, a place of suffering and ignorance. Liberation is only possible through gnosis, or secret knowledge of the true way the universe works. In certain Gnostic sects, he is directly linked to the God of the Old Testament, portrayed as an arrogant and wrathful deity who falsely claims to be the only God. This starkly contrasts with the benevolent, unseen true God of the Gnostic tradition, as well as the teachings of Christ, who is seen as the emissary of this true divine being. This interpretation places Yaldabaoth in opposition to the Christ of the New Testament, who seeks to liberate humanity from the ignorance imposed by creation. In some demonological texts, this figure is identified as the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy here, just reminding you to like and subscribe and to hit the notification bell. Also, if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit the share button and send my video to your friends and family. And if you want to take it to the next level, check out the Patreon or the YouTube membership and support the channel for as little as $1 a month. The chronovisor is an alleged time-viewing device, reportedly developed by Father Pellegrino Ernetti, an Italian priest and exorcist, during the mid-20th century. According to Ernetti, this device enabled users to view and hear events from the past, like a television tuning into events throughout history. The most sensational of these claims includes observations of Jesus Christ's crucifixion and other biblical events. Other notable historical figures and events, such as speeches by Roman Senator Cicero and the end of Julius Caesar, were also noted to be viewable. Ernetti's descriptions suggest that the chronovisor worked through the use of specialized antennae made from mysterious metals, capable of capturing sound and light waves across the spectrum. This technology supposedly allowed it to record and project past events onto a screen, making it less of a time travel device and more of a viewer into history. Despite the intriguing nature of Ernetti's claims, they have been met with significant skepticism and controversy. Critics have pointed out that no concrete evidence of the device's existence has ever been presented. The key piece of supposed evidence, a photograph depicting the crucifixion of Jesus, was later quote-unquote debunked as a manipulated image resembling a sculpture. I've attached the image of Jesus in his final days, reportedly taken through the chronovisor. The debate over the chronovisor's existence is further complicated by the Vatican's secretive stance on the matter. While the Church has not confirmed the existence of such a device, a Vatican decree from 1988 threatened excommunication for its use. Theorists have suggested that there would be no need for a threat of excommunication if such a device didn't exist, or if the device did not have some form of power. This has fueled speculation about its possible reality and potential misuse. However, skeptics have noted that the decree may also have been issued to prevent deterioration of church doctrine. In his later years, amidst growing skepticism, Ernetti allegedly recanted his claims, stating that the stories about the chronovisor were fabricated. His confession, however, is disputed, and some believe it was coerced by the Church, or factions within the Church, that wanted to suppress this wondrous technology. However, some theories suggest that the CIA may have taken an interest in this technology, seeking to further develop it for covert operations. The idea is that the agency, intrigued by the potential of such a device for intelligence gathering and historical research, might have invested resources into refining the chronovisor. According to this theory, this potentially involved advanced quantum mechanics and cutting-edge technologies to enhance the supposed capabilities of the original device. Speculation abounds that the chronovisor could offer unprecedented insights into historical events, or even predict future occurrences, making it a powerful tool for national security. Despite the lack of credible evidence, these theories continue to persist and have grown in popularity in recent years. Familiars in occult practice are supernatural entities believed to assist witches and magicians in their magical workings. Often taking the form of animals or animal-like creatures, they act as guides, protectors, or servants to the practitioner. In European folklore, particularly during the witch trials of the Middle Ages and the early modern period, familiars were thought to be demons or spirits given to witches by the devil. They commonly appeared as domestic animals such as cats, dogs, toads, or even insects, disguising their true nature from the untrained eye. These familiars were believed to possess magical powers, providing witches with knowledge, teaching them new spells, or performing tasks on their behalf. The relationship between a witch and their familiar was considered contractual and sealed through an unbreakable pact or agreement. This bond was often solidified by the witch feeding the familiar with milk, bodily fluids, or other offerings, establishing a reciprocal relationship. Beyond Europe, the concept of spirit companions or familiars is prevalent in various cultures. In shamanistic practices worldwide, shamans interact with spirit animals or guides that assist them in navigating the spiritual realm. These entities are viewed as benevolent helpers, providing wisdom, healing, and a connection to the natural world. In some Native American traditions, for example, animal spirits play a crucial role in guiding and protecting individuals and communities. In African and Afro-Caribbean traditions such as voodoo, practitioners engage with spirit entities or deities called loa, which can act similarly to familiars. The use of familiars in occult practice is not limited to historical contexts. In contemporary paganism, witchcraft, and occultism, the concept of the familiar has evolved. Modern practitioners may interpret familiars as representations of inner aspects of themselves, spirit guides, or elemental energies. Some seek physical animal companions, believing that a strong bond with an animal can enhance their spiritual practice and connection to nature, though this is not universally accepted as being a familiar. In ritual magic and ceremonial practices, familiars can also be seen as thought forms or egregores, energies or entities created and empowered by the practitioner's focus and intent. These constructs serve specific purposes within the magical framework, acting as extensions of the practitioner's will. The creation and use of such entities require discipline and ethical considerations, as they involve manipulating subtle energies. While the role of the familiars is often portrayed as that of a companion or teacher, their role as a protector is significant. Practitioners often call upon them to guard against malevolent spirits, negative energies, or psychic attacks. In some traditions, the familiar acts as a mediator between the practitioner and other spiritual entities, facilitating communication and ensuring safe passage through various realms. Methods of acquiring a familiar vary across different practices. Some traditions involve rituals to summon and bind a spirit to serve as a familiar. Others emphasize forming a natural relationship with an animal or spirit through mutual respect and trust. Other traditions believe that the familiar can be manifested within one's mind and does not take on a physical body. The technological age has also seen the emergence of new interpretations of familiars. Some practitioners consider digital constructs as modern familiars, exploring the intersection between technology and spirituality. Lilith is regarded as Adam's first wife in some Jewish and Christian texts. Lilith's earliest origins can be traced to Mesopotamian mythology, where she was part of a class of female demons linked with storms and the night. These early depictions, such as her appearance in the Epic of Gilgamesh, describe her as a destructive, vampiric figure who fled to the desert after her lair, a sacred tree, was destroyed. In this context, Lilith embodied the fears associated with untamed, nocturnal forces. Her characteristics were later absorbed into early Jewish demonology, where she became an archetype of female rebellion and danger. In Jewish mythology, Lilith's most famous role is as Adam's first wife. According to this tradition, Lilith was created at the same time and from the same earth as Adam. However, she refused to be subservient to him, insisting on equality. When Adam attempted to force her into submission, Lilith fled the Garden of Eden. According to tradition, this act of rebellion led her to be permanently cast out and transformed into a demon. In Kabbalistic traditions, Lilith is often paired with the archangel Samael, with whom she is said to have birthed numerous demonic offspring. Together, they are sometimes portrayed as a dark mirror to Adam and Eve, symbolizing the inversion of divine order. Amulets and incantations were commonly used to ward off Lilith's influence, particularly for women during childbirth, a time when she was believed to be most dangerous. These protective measures became a significant part of Jewish magical practices, often invoking angels or sacred texts to counteract her power. In Christian demonology, Lilith was often associated with witches and was said to have command of legions of succubi meant to lead men astray. Modern interpretations of Lilith tend to paint her in a much more positive light than traditional interpretations did. In Wicca and modern witchcraft, Lilith is venerated as a symbol of feminine empowerment, autonomy, and the untamed aspects of the divine feminine. She is often invoked in practices that emphasize personal strength, independence, and resistance to societal constraints. Unlike the more demonized portrayals in older religious texts, in Wicca, Lilith is celebrated for her defiance against societal norms and is seen as a figure who embodies the power of self-determination. Remote viewing is a phenomenon that claims to allow individuals to perceive and describe information about distant or unseen targets through non-physical means. RV is typically described as extrasensory perception, more commonly called ESP. This concept has intrigued many, drawing both believers and skeptics, and has even garnered attention from government agencies, leading to its study under various secret programs. The formal investigation of remote viewing as a scientific endeavor began in the 20th century, with significant contributions from researchers like Ingo Swann, Harold Puthoff, and Russell Targ. These researchers were among the first to conduct controlled experiments in remote viewing, particularly under the auspices of the Stanford Research Institute in the early 1970s. One of the most notable early experiments involved the psychic Ingo Swann, who was tested for his ability to describe objects and events located at a distance. These experiments at SRI reportedly yielded positive results, leading to further interest and funding from various branches of the U.S. military and intelligence communities. This period marked the beginning of a more organized and funded approach to studying remote viewing, culminating in the establishment of the Stargate Project. The Stargate Project was a secret U.S. Army unit established in the late 1970s, aimed at exploring the potential military applications of psychic phenomena, including remote viewing. This project, which ran until 1995, was motivated by reports that the Soviet Union was heavily investing in similar research. There was a significant concern that they might develop psychic capabilities that could be used against the United States or American allies. Under the Stargate Project, remote viewers were tasked with various missions, including locating hostages, identifying the locations of weapons, and gathering intelligence on enemy positions. Proponents of the project claimed some successes, such as the alleged remote viewing of a lost Soviet aircraft in 1976. However, the project was fraught with controversy and skepticism, particularly from the scientific community, which criticized the methodologies used and the reliability of the results. One of the primary criticisms is the lack of repeatability in remote viewing experiments. Many studies have reported positive results, but these results often failed to be replicated in subsequent experiments, leading to questions about the validity of the findings. Furthermore, methodological flaws have been pointed out in many of the early remote viewing experiments. Issues include the possibility of sensory leakage, where the remote viewer could have received unintentional cues about the target, and the failure to use proper control groups. These issues have cast doubt on the legitimacy of the results. These concerns have led many in the scientific community to classify remote viewing as pseudoscience, despite its continued popularity among certain groups and researchers. One notable figure in RV includes Joseph McMoneagle, a retired U.S. Army officer who participated in the Stargate Project and is often cited as one of the most successful remote viewers. McMoneagle claimed to have been involved in numerous successful remote viewing operations, although these claims are often disputed by skeptics. The Stargate Project's association with remote viewing gave the phenomenon a degree of legitimacy that it might not have achieved otherwise. The project received considerable funding over its two-decade existence, with the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency, or DIA, both playing significant roles in its continuation. However, by the early 1990s, the project's utility was increasingly questioned. Consequently, the CIA terminated the Stargate project in 1995, marking the end of open official U.S. government research into remote viewing. The idea that remote viewing is still an ongoing government research project has persisted as a conspiracy theory for many years, despite the official closure of the Stargate project. Proponents of this theory argue that the U.S. government continued to secretly fund and conduct research into remote viewing, motivated by its potential intelligence applications. One of the central claims supporting this conspiracy theory is that the public termination of the Stargate project was merely a facade designed to remove the controversial research from public scrutiny. The rationale behind this theory is that the government would not abandon a project that had any potential strategic value. Particularly, observers have noted that if adversarial nations like Russia or China were believed to be exploring similar research, the U.S. government would not want to allow them any potential edge. Supporters of this theory often cite the secrecy that surrounded the Stargate project and the broader field of remote viewing research. The project was highly classified for many years, and only a fraction of the related documents have been declassified. The lack of transparency and the selective release of information fuel suspicions that much remains hidden from the public. There are also claims that remote viewing is being conducted under the umbrella of private contractors or within new, more covert government programs. The idea here is that by outsourcing the research or rebranding it under different projects, the government can plausibly deny its continuation while still reaping the benefits. The concept of Earth as a living entity has roots in both ancient mythologies and modern scientific theories. The idea that the planet itself is alive, or functions as a cohesive living organism, has evolved over centuries, influenced by both philosophy and scientific discoveries. Historically, the notion of the Earth as a living entity is reflected in many cultures. The Greeks, for instance, conceptualized Gaia, the goddess of the Earth, as a nurturing figure responsible for all life. Similarly, various indigenous cultures have believed that Earth possesses a spiritual essence or consciousness, attributing life to the environment that surrounds them. These early ideas laid the groundwork for modern interpretations that suggest Earth itself has qualities akin to a living being. The modern theory of Earth as a living entity gained prominence with the development of the Gaia hypothesis in the late 20th century. The Gaia hypothesis puts forth that Earth's biological and physical components interact in a complex system that maintains conditions favorable for life. It was suggested that the biosphere, atmosphere, oceans, and soil are all tightly coupled to form a self-regulating system that sustains life through feedback loops. Unsurprisingly, the theory was named after the Greek goddess, reflecting the view of Earth as a singular, living organism, which harkened back to the idea of the Earth as a literal entity. The Gaia hypothesis faced both support and criticism within the scientific community. Early supporters viewed it as an insightful way to understand the interconnectedness of Earth systems. The idea that living organisms collectively affect the Earth's climate and atmospheric chemistry to make it habitable suggested a powerful form of cooperation across species and ecosystems. However, critics argued that it lacked rigorous scientific basis, especially concerning the suggestion that Earth quote-unquote intends to maintain life-sustaining conditions. In response to criticism, the creator of the theory later refined the hypothesis to focus on cybernetic feedback systems rather than purpose-driven behavior. Modern extensions of the Gaia concept have led to more scientifically grounded theories. One of these is the concept of Earth system science, which treats the planet as an integrated set of physical, chemical, biological, and human interactions. This approach, while less metaphorical than the original Gaia hypothesis, retains the focus on the interconnectedness of Earth's systems. It emphasizes that all elements, land, water, air, and life, are linked, influencing and responding to each other. The interactions are not aimed at maintaining life in a purposive way, as suggested by early interpretations of Gaia, but instead occur through dynamic feedback loops driven by natural processes. Literal belief in the concept of Earth as a living entity, as proposed by the Gaia hypothesis, has attracted a small but passionate group of proponents. These individuals believe that Earth functions as a conscious, self-regulating organism, which has implications for spirituality and environmental ethics. Some interpret Gaia as having an inherent intelligence, guiding natural processes toward balance. Further, the idea of Earth's consciousness as an emergent phenomenon suggests that collective interactions between living organisms and ecosystems might lead to a form of planetary awareness. While intriguing, it lacks empirical support and remains outside mainstream scientific acceptance. However, most scientists regard this view metaphorically rather than literally, seeing Gaia as a useful analogy rather than a conscious entity. The literal belief often aligns with deep ecology and eco-spiritual movements, rather than mainstream scientific perspectives. Johann Weyer's De Praestigiis Daemonum, translated as On the Tricks of Demons, is a seminal 1563 work that challenged prevailing beliefs about witchcraft and demonology. Weyer, a physician and former student of the renowned humanist Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, approached the subject from a medical and psychological perspective. He argued that alleged witches were not in league with the devil, but were instead suffering from mental illnesses. In the 16th century, Europe was gripped by a fervent belief in witchcraft, leading to widespread persecution of those accused. The Malleus Maleficarum, published in 1487, served as a manual for identifying and prosecuting witches, reinforcing the notion that witchcraft was a real and present danger. Drawing from his medical background, he posited that many accused witches most often suffered from a medical problem unrelated to the devil. He criticized the methods used to extract confessions, noting that torture often led to false admissions. Weyer's arguments were grounded in his observations as a physician, where he recognized symptoms of mental illness in those accused of witchcraft. On the Tricks of Demons is meticulously organized into 5 books, each addressing different facets of demonology and witchcraft. The first book delves into the nature of demons and their supposed interactions with humans. Weyer argues that many reported demonic encounters are the result of natural causes or psychological disturbances. The second book examines the practices of magicians and sorcerers, suggesting that their alleged powers are either fraudulent or misunderstood natural phenomena. In the third book, Weyer discusses the various types of spirits and their classifications, drawing from earlier works, but often providing a more skeptical interpretation. The fourth book is particularly notable for its appendix, the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum, which lists demons and their supposed hierarchies. Weyer includes this not to endorse the information, but to expose the absurdity of such beliefs. Notably, despite this, the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum became a cornerstone of demonology in the early modern period. The final book addresses the treatment of those accused of witchcraft, advocating for compassion and medical care rather than punishment. Weyer's work was met with mixed reactions. While some contemporaries appreciated his rational approach, others criticized him for undermining the efforts to combat witchcraft. Some accused him of being in league with the devil, given that his work was seen as providing cover for individuals associated with witchcraft and who had even confessed to the offense. Demonic possession is a topic found within many occult traditions and refers to the belief that an external spirit or entity, often malevolent, takes control of an individual's body and mind. Throughout history, numerous cultures have recognized phenomena akin to demonic possession. In ancient Mesopotamia, for instance, ailments and psychological disturbances were frequently attributed to malevolent spirits. Similarly, in ancient Greece, the concept of daimones encompassed both benevolent and malevolent entities believed to influence human behavior. In medieval Europe, the Christian Church's interpretation of possession was predominantly demonic, leading to numerous exorcisms as well as witch hunts. Religious and occult traditions worldwide show remarkable similarities in signs and symptoms of demonic possession. One of the most commonly reported signs is unusual physical strength. Individuals believed to be possessed are said to exhibit strength that far exceeds their natural capacity. Cases from historical and contemporary accounts describe people, often of modest build, performing feats that would typically require far greater physical power. This phenomenon is especially unsettling for witnesses and is frequently interpreted as evidence of an external entity taking control of the body. Those who report witnessing such strength describe the event as something that defies normal human limitations, suggesting an unnatural influence at work. Another prominent sign of possession is an aversion to sacred objects, particularly religious symbols like crosses, holy water, or scripture. In numerous reports, possessed individuals display strong, even violent, reactions to these objects. This aversion is often accompanied by expressions of fear, aggression, or disgust, which are thought to be brought on by the entity inside the possessed. Possession cases sometimes feature instances where the affected individual speaks languages unknown to them. Often termed xenoglossy, this phenomenon involves a person suddenly articulating phrases or entire conversations in a foreign language they've never studied or encountered before. This is particularly disturbing to observers, as it seems to reveal knowledge that the person could not have acquired through natural means. In the Christian context, reports of xenoglossy during possession generally include use of ancient languages, like Latin, Ancient Greek, or Aramaic. Personality shifts are also observed, where an ordinarily gentle individual may exhibit aggressive, hostile, or blasphemous behavior. This change can seem so drastic that it appears as if another consciousness has taken over, with the original personality entirely suppressed. However, these signs aren't universally accepted as evidence of possession. Many skeptics and mental health professionals argue that these symptoms can stem from psychological or neurological disorders rather than an external spirit or entity. Conditions such as dissociative identity disorder, psychosis, or epilepsy can produce behaviors that mimic possession symptoms, including personality shifts and language disturbances. Psychological explanations suggest that individuals displaying signs of possession may be experiencing an intense mental health crisis rather than a supernatural event. Exorcism, the act of expelling a possessing entity, varies across cultures. In Christian traditions, it generally involves invoking the name of Jesus Christ to command the demon to depart and citing passages where Jesus combated demonic entities spiritually. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy here, just reminding you to like and subscribe and to hit the notification bell. If you're enjoying the vibe of the channel, come check out my Discord channel. We're now at over 160 members. And if you want to take it to the next level, check out the Patreon or the YouTube membership and support the channel for as little as $1 a month. Numerology, the study of the mystical significance of numbers, has roots reaching back thousands of years. This idea has evolved through ancient civilizations, with notable contributions from Greek, Egyptian, and Chinese cultures. Though viewed by some as pseudoscientific, the practice persists as a means of exploring identity, destiny, and universal truths. The origins of numerology can be traced to the early civilizations of Babylon and Egypt, where the symbolic significance of numbers was integrated into their respective belief systems. However, it was the ancient Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras, around the 6th century BC, who is most often credited with founding modern Western numerological practices. Pythagoras is said to have believed that numbers constitute the essential building blocks of the universe, governing both physical forms and spiritual dimensions. His notion that everything is arranged according to number highlighted his belief that numbers contained fundamental truths about the world. Pythagoras and his followers, known as the Pythagoreans, focused on what they saw as the vibrational qualities of numbers, believing that numbers could reveal both individual and universal secrets. In Pythagorean numerology, each number from 1 to 9 carries specific characteristics. The number 1, for instance, symbolizes unity and creation, while 2 represents duality and balance. By examining a person's name or birth date, numerologists would reduce these numbers through a process called reduction to arrive at a single-digit core number. This final number was thought to reveal important aspects of a person's character and fate. The Greeks were not alone in their numerological interests. Similar ideas existed in other ancient cultures, including the Chinese, who developed their own system as part of the I Ching. In Chinese numerology, numbers also possess intrinsic meanings tied to yin and yang, and specific numbers were considered auspicious or inauspicious. For example, the number 8 is considered highly favorable because its pronunciation sounds like the word for wealth, whereas the number 4 is often avoided because it sounds like the word for death. In addition to ancient Chinese practices, the Jewish mystical tradition of Kabbalah, which dates back to the 1st century AD at least, incorporates numerology as a method for interpreting sacred texts. The system of gematria, a key part of Kabbalistic numerology, assigns numerical values to letters in the Hebrew alphabet, allowing practitioners to analyze texts and uncover hidden messages. For example, the Hebrew word for life has a numerical value of 18, making this number significant in Jewish tradition. Despite its widespread historical use, numerology lacks scientific validation and is often categorized alongside other metaphysical practices. Its adherents argue that the insights it offers are based on spiritual principles rather than empirical evidence, making it more akin to astrology or divination than hard science. Nevertheless, numerology's symbolic language continues to captivate individuals seeking a structured, meaningful approach to understanding their lives and purpose. The Malleus Maleficarum, Latin for Hammer of Witches, published in 1487 by Heinrich Kramer, became one of the most influential works on witchcraft and demonology during the early modern period. It played a central role in shaping European witch trials, solidifying legal and theological views on witchcraft, and providing a systematic approach to identifying and prosecuting suspected witches. Kramer's work, underpinned by papal endorsement, was particularly notable for intertwining folklore, legal procedure, and demonological theory to justify widespread persecution. Kramer's obsession with demonology arose from his failed attempts at prosecuting witches, particularly in the Tyrol region of the Holy Roman Empire. After his dismissal as insane and irrational by a local bishop, Kramer sought to restore his credibility. His solution was the Malleus Maleficarum, a text that would become notorious for its harsh views on witchcraft. The Malleus is divided into 3 parts, each addressing different aspects of witchcraft and its prosecution. The first part outlines the theological justification for the existence of witchcraft, rooted in the belief that witches, in consort with demons, posed a severe threat to the Christian order. Kramer vehemently rejected any notion that witchcraft might be a delusion, insisting instead that anyone denying its reality was guilty of heresy. The second part of the book deals with the mechanics of witchcraft, listing powers attributed to witches and how they could be detected. It ranges from accusations of casting curses to stealing a man's virility through demonic means. According to Kramer, witches' abilities came directly from their pacts with the devil, and these pacts included engaging in diabolical carnal acts. The third section, arguably the most infamous, provides detailed instructions on how to conduct witch trials. It covers how to extract confessions, the criteria for guilt, and the legal procedures to be followed. These procedures made it nearly impossible for the accused to defend themselves. For example, any woman who did not weep during her trial was automatically assumed to be a witch, while those who wept too much were also assumed to be witches as well. Further, those who resisted confession were seen as being protected by a demonic spell of silence, while those who eagerly confessed were taken to obviously be witches, because why else would they confess? The legal framework advocated by Kramer left virtually no room for acquittal, making the text a potent tool for ensuring convictions. The Malleus Maleficarum had a profound impact on the witch hunts that followed, particularly in the Holy Roman Empire, where it was widely adopted by secular courts. Its influence spread across Europe, with approximately 30 editions printed between 1487 and 1669. The text was used by both Protestant and Catholic authorities, cementing its role as the go-to guide for witch hunters regardless of doctrinal differences. Despite its wide usage, the Malleus Maleficarum was not without controversy. Many scholars within the Church opposed it, and even during its publication, critics noted that it contradicted established Church doctrines. Further, the very odd legal procedures that were established alarmed many contemporary witch hunters who were concerned that the procedures were so strict that only a legitimate witch would be not guilty. Under this formulation, only someone employing the abilities of a demonic entity could thread the line required for acquittal, leading to the persecution of innocents and the release of witches. In recent years, TikTok has emerged as a significant platform for the dissemination and popularization of witchcraft practices. This phenomenon, often referred to as witch talk, has garnered substantial attention, with hashtags like #witchcraft and #witchtalk amassing millions of views. TikTok's unique algorithm promotes content allowing niche communities to flourish. For modern witches, the platform offers a space to share rituals, spells, and personal experiences, fostering a sense of community and accessibility. Users on WitchTalk share a variety of occult content germane to the interest of your average Gen Z witch. These include spell tutorials, where creators provide step-by-step guides on performing spells aimed at love, protection, and prosperity. These tutorials often include detailed instructions and demonstrations to assist viewers in practicing these rituals. Many videos also offer information on the properties and uses of different crystals. These educational posts help viewers understand how to incorporate crystals into their spiritual practices. Another common witch talk discussion area is herbal remedies for healing and magic. These videos explore the medicinal and mystical properties of herbs, providing viewers with knowledge on how to utilize them effectively. These practices are often presented in short, engaging videos that demystify complex rituals, making them approachable for newcomers and allowing videos to go viral quickly. The witch talk community is predominantly composed of younger individuals, in particularly younger millennials and Gen Z. This demographic shift aligns with a broader trend of declining participation in organized religion and a growing interest in alternative spiritualities. Despite its popularity, witch talk has faced criticism. Some practitioners argue that the platform's format oversimplifies complex traditions, leading to misinformation. Additionally, the commodification of spiritual practices by witchfluencers has raised ethical concerns within the community. Astrology, the belief that celestial bodies influence human affairs, has roots stretching back to ancient civilizations. The earliest known records of astrological practices date to Mesopotamia, around the 3rd millennium BC, where the Sumerians observed planetary movements and linked them to terrestrial events. These observations were further developed by the Babylonians, who created the zodiac, a division of the sky into 12 equal parts, each associated with specific constellations. In ancient Egypt, astrology was intertwined with religion and governance. The Egyptians adopted the Babylonian zodiac and associated it with their deities, using celestial events to guide decisions and predict outcomes. Similarly, in ancient Greece, astrology merged with philosophical thought. Philosophers like Pythagoras and Plato considered the cosmos a harmonious entity, and this perspective influenced astrological interpretations. The Greeks also introduced the concept of horoscopic astrology, focusing on individual birth charts to predict personal destinies. A pivotal figure in the history of astrology is Claudius Ptolemy, a Greco-Roman scholar of the 2nd century AD. His work, the Tetrabiblos, systematically compiled astrological knowledge of his time and became a foundational text for subsequent generations. Ptolemy's approach sought to align astrology with the scientific understanding of his era, emphasizing the influence of celestial bodies on earthly events. During the Islamic Golden Age, astrology experienced significant development. Persian Islamic scholars translated and expanded upon Greek astrological texts, integrating them with their own astronomical observations. Astrology was considered a legitimate science, and its principles were applied in medicine, agriculture, and daily life. In medieval Europe, astrology was intertwined with various aspects of society, including medicine and politics. Astrological charts were used to diagnose illnesses and determine auspicious times for medical procedures. The Renaissance period saw a resurgence of interest in astrology, with mainstream scholars like Johannes Kepler, known for his laws of planetary motion, practicing astrology alongside astronomy. The 17th century marked a turning point for astrology's status as a science. The rise of the scientific method and empirical research led to skepticism about astrology's validity. Figures like Isaac Newton demonstrated that celestial bodies followed natural laws, diminishing the perceived mystical influence of stars and planets on human affairs. Despite its decline in scientific credibility, astrology has persisted into modern times, often categorized as a pseudoscience by skeptics. Numerous scientific studies have tested astrology's claims, often finding no empirical support. For instance, a double-blind study published in Nature in 1985 concluded that astrologers could not match natal charts to psychological profiles better than chance. Similarly, a meta-analysis of multiple studies found no evidence supporting astrology's predictive power. From a believer's perspective, astrology isn't just a casual hobby or form of entertainment. It's a deeply personal and mystical practice that helps individuals understand themselves and others. Those who believe in astrology view the positions of celestial bodies as holding real power over human personality traits, life paths, and even the timing of significant events. At the heart of modern astrology is the belief that the universe is interconnected and that humans are influenced by the cosmic forces surrounding them. For believers, astrology is about much more than daily horoscopes. It's a tool for self-reflection, spiritual growth, and sometimes even guidance in decision-making. A core belief in astrology is that the planets and stars emit energies that interact with human beings. Believers often feel that these cosmic energies can affect moods, interactions, and personal growth. For instance, they see Mercury retrograde, a period when the planet appears to move backward in the sky, as a time prone to communication breakdowns, technology issues, and personal introspection. The idea that celestial bodies have specific energies resonates with many believers who feel these shifts palpably in their daily lives. The belief here isn't strictly scientific but experiential. Many astrologers and astrology followers claim they have felt, observed, and responded to these patterns over time. Furthermore, believers see birth charts as a cosmic blueprint that reveals an individual's strengths, weaknesses, and life purpose. The detailed nature of a natal chart, which maps planetary positions at the exact time and place of birth, offers insights that resonate on a psychological level. By interpreting their birth chart, they gain a sense of meaning and purpose that goes beyond the randomness of daily life. Let me know in the comments any personal experiences you've had with the predictive powers of astrology. An egregore is a concept in Western occultism referring to an autonomous psychic entity created by a collective group mind. These entities are sustained by the shared beliefs, rituals, and sacrifices of a group, ranging from small covens to entire nations. When an egregore receives sufficient sustenance, it can take on a life of its own, becoming an independent deity with powers its believers can use to further their own spiritual advancement. This concept has roots in ancient civilizations. In classical Greece and Rome, they were consciously called into being to watch over city-states. These entities were believed to influence the destiny of the communities that created them. Over time, the understanding of egregores evolved, permeating various Western mystery traditions, including the Corpus Hermeticum. In these traditions, egregores were seen as powerful forces that could be harnessed for spiritual growth, or, conversely, could become parasitic and destructive if not properly managed. Modern esoteric orders such as Rosicrucianism have incorporated the concept of egregores into their practices. These groups recognize that collective rituals and focused intentions can create powerful psychic entities that influence both individual members and the group as a whole. Recognizing the presence of one of these thought form entities involves observing the collective behaviors and beliefs within a group. Signs include a strong, unified focus on specific symbols or rituals, and a sense of an autonomous presence influencing the group's actions. To manage or dissolve an egregore, it's essential to withdraw the collective energy that sustains it. This can be achieved by ceasing the rituals and beliefs that feed the entity, thereby allowing it to dissipate over time. While egregores can serve as tools for collective empowerment, they also pose risks to personal autonomy. Individuals may find their thoughts and actions subtly influenced by the egregore, leading to a loss of personal agency. It's crucial for individuals to remain aware of these influences and take steps to maintain their autonomy, such as critically evaluating group beliefs and practices. The Nekomata is a cat yokai from Japanese folklore, roughly equivalent to a demonic entity from Western traditions. The story may have its origins in a Chinese cat demon called the Senri. The Senri were noted to achieve great spiritual power in old age, and achieve the power to shapeshift into a beautiful man or woman. Nekomata are domestic cats, which have, quote, gone rogue, by running away into the mountains in their old age and gaining additional powers while there. Further, when they become Nekomata, they gain a second tail, which apparently enhances their magical abilities. Nekomata are generally considered to be cats who were treated terribly by their owners. One account from the 18th century in Yamato Kaiki tells of a haunted house owned by a samurai, plagued by unexplainable disturbances. The source of the trouble was revealed to be the family's aged cat, which had transformed into a Nekomata. This tale, like many others, highlights the Nekomata's association with malevolent activities and their ability to bring about chaos. Nekomata are often confused with their more benevolent yokai counterparts, the Bakaneko, but they possess unique traits. While Bakaneko are mischievous and capable of shape-shifting, Nekomata are known for more sinister powers, such as necromancy, the ability to control the dead. This distinction makes the Nekomata particularly feared. Their malevolence is further illustrated by their ability to summon fires, a trait that has cemented their reputation as dangerous beings. Ancient folklore depicts these creatures as vengeful spirits, particularly targeting those who have wronged them. The older and more mistreated a cat is before its transformation, the more potent its powers as a Nekomata become. This has led to various superstitions, including the severing of cats' tails, to prevent their transformation into these dreaded yokai. Cultural depictions of Nekomata vary, with Edo period illustrations often showing them in human forms, particularly as older women. These Nekomata are often playing the shamisen, a detail that carries an ironic twist, considering that these instruments were traditionally made from cat skins. In modern times, the allure of Nekomata continues, transitioning from feared mythical beings to characters in manga, anime, and other forms of pop culture. LaVeyan Satanism, established by Anton Sandor LaVey in 1966, is a religious philosophy that emphasizes individualism, self-indulgence, and skepticism of traditional religion. LaVey founded the Church of Satan in San Francisco, marking the formal inception of this movement. His seminal work, The Satanic Bible, published in 1969, outlines the core tenets and rituals of LaVeyan Satanism. Some have characterized the movement as a parody of religion, or as Ayn Rand's philosophy repackaged and delivered with a more edgy overlay. Notably, this latter interpretation, while initially denied, was later confirmed by LaVey himself. Central to LaVeyan Satanism is the rejection of theistic beliefs. LaVey asserted that neither God nor Satan exists as supernatural entities. Instead, he viewed Satan as a symbol of human nature and the carnal aspects of life. This perspective positions LaVeyan Satanism as an atheistic philosophy that celebrates the self as the ultimate authority. The philosophy is encapsulated in several key principles which were laid out by LaVey, known as the 9 Satanic Statements. These declarations advocate for indulgence over abstinence, vital existence over spiritual pipe dreams, and vengeance over turning the other cheek. Despite its provocative imagery and rituals, LaVeyan Satanism does not involve the worship of Satan as a deity. Instead, it uses Satan as a metaphor for the inherent qualities of human nature, such as pride, individualism, and self-determination. This symbolic representation serves to challenge traditional religious norms and promote personal empowerment according to proponents of the movement. Don't forget to check out the YouTube membership or the Patreon if you want to support my work further and access some exclusive videos. Remember to like and subscribe, and also click the share button and notification bell. Check out my other videos in this series by clicking the screen above, or check out my 11-hour unsolved mystery compilation.